The airport was full of the usual hustle, loudspeaker announcements echoing over tile floors, wheels of suitcases clattering behind rushed footsteps, and the scent of roasted coffee drifting from every second gate. Flights were delayed, families reunited, others parted in tears. Somewhere between gates B9 and B13, a man named Caleb sat alone, hunched in a chair with a newspaper folded on his lap and a lukewarm coffee he hadn't touched in 30 minutes. He had salt and pepper hair, wore a charcoal wool coat despite the summer heat outside, and his eyes, though soft, looked like they'd seen enough sorrow to last 2 lives. Caleb wasn't there to fly. Not anymore. He had canceled his ticket 2 hours ago. The reason? A voicemail. One that shattered the purpose of his entire trip. He was debating whether to call his daughter, the one he hadn't spoken to in 7 years, when a tug on his coat interrupted his silent storm. He looked down. A little girl, no older than 7, stared up at him. She had a small suitcase shaped like a unicorn, oversized sneakers that clearly weren't hers, and a denim jacket over a pink dress. Her hair was in messy twin buns, but it was her eyes that stopped Caleb cold. Wide, worried, and brimming with something old for someone so young. "Excuse me," she whispered, barely above a breath. "Can you pretend to be my daddy, just for today?" Caleb blinked. "I'm sorry." The girl bit her lip, twisting her tiny fingers in front of her. "Just today. Just here at the airport. Please." She looked around, panicked. Caleb's eyes followed hers. 2 TSA agents were approaching, scanning the area. One of them had a walkie-talkie raised to his mouth. "My name's Emma," she said quickly. "I'm not supposed to be here alone." He sat up straighter. "Are you lost?" Emma shook her head. "I ran away." "Sort of. I was waiting for my grandma, but she never showed. The man at the counter asked who I was with. If they find out I'm alone, they'll send me away. But if I have a daddy—" Her voice cracked. "They won't." Caleb stared at her, the words crashing like thunder through his chest. "They won't." And then, without knowing why, Caleb rose. He stood up and placed a firm hand on her shoulder, gentle, fatherly. "Hey, sweetheart," he said, testing the word on his tongue like it was foreign. "You all right? I've been looking everywhere for you." Emma's face lit up with relief that nearly made his knees buckle. She nodded and reached for his hand like she'd known him all her life. "Sir," one of the TSA agents approached. "Is this your daughter?" Caleb didn't flinch. "Yes, Emma Grace Kingsley. She wandered off when I went to buy coffee." The other officer narrowed his eyes. "She was found sitting alone near gate C2, crying. Are you aware she was unattended for over an hour?" Caleb sighed, ruffling Emma's hair. "She's got a habit of hiding when she's upset. I just told her we might have to cancel our flight. Her grandma had an accident. She doesn't take news well." Emma sniffled at the perfect cue. The agents exchanged glances, then relented. "Make sure she stays with you from now on," Caleb nodded. "Of course." "I'm sorry." And with that, they moved on. Only when they were gone did Emma squeeze his hand. "Thank you," she whispered. Caleb crouched to her eye level. "Okay, Emma, now you need to tell me the truth. Where are your parents?" She looked away. "Don't have any. My mom died last year. Grandma's sick and—" "She forgot me today, I think. She forgets a lot. Sometimes she forgets what year it is." "Alzheimer's." Caleb recognized the signs. "Where do you live?" "Fresno. But I was supposed to fly to Atlanta for the summer. But Grandma didn't come. So I didn't know what to do." She sat down beside him again, her unicorn suitcase propped between them like a barrier and a bridge. Caleb didn't speak for a while. He stared at the people rushing by, each with a destination, each with someone waiting. He had no one waiting, except now. He had her. "I'll stay with you. he said softly. Just for today. Emma smiled. Okay. She leaned against his side without asking, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Caleb felt her head settle against his arm. Hours passed. He bought her a sandwich, and they sat on a bench sharing a packet of fries like old friends. She told him about her school, her hamster named Jellybean, and the time she tried to bake cookies and forgot the sugar. Caleb, in turn, told her about how he used to build tree houses, about his wife, who had passed too soon, and haltingly, about his real daughter Leah, the one he hadn't spoken to in years, the one who had begged him to come to her wedding. The wedding he canceled this morning after hearing her new husband didn't want him there. She needs you, Emma, said matter-of-factly, even if she said she doesn't. He stared at her. How do you know? Emma shrugged. Because I need someone too. And I didn't know until I saw you, sitting there, looking sad. He couldn't explain the feeling she stirred in him. It wasn't pity. It wasn't charity. It was healing, strange and slow, and uninvited. When evening fell, Caleb asked for her grandmother's address. She remembered it perfectly. He called a cab, and they rode in silence. She curled up beside him, fast asleep before they left the terminal. At the house, a small, weathered bungalow with peeling paint. A frail old woman stood on the porch with a nurse beside her. The nurse had called the police. They had found Emma's information in a note in the grandmother's purse. When Emma ran to her, the woman blinked slowly, her face awash in confused love. Emily? She whispered. Emma, Grandma, the girl corrected gently, holding her hand. The nurse turned to Caleb. You brought her home? He nodded. You're the father? He paused, then smiled. I was today. The nurse blinked, not understanding. Emma did. She ran back to him and flung her arms around his waist. Thank you, Daddy, for a day. He knelt down, this time hugging her back with all the strength in his chest. I needed you too, he whispered into her hair when she pulled. Back, she dug into her little unicorn suitcase and pulled out a piece of lined notebook paper. On it was a drawing, 2 stick figures, one big, one small. Holding hands, with the words, my hero, she handed it to him. So you don't forget me. He laughed, a sound that hadn't escaped his throat in years. I won't, he promised. She smiled, her tears bright and joyful. And when Caleb walked away into the darkening street, he didn't go back to the airport. He went to the train station. He bought a ticket to Atlanta, and he wrote a message to a number he thought he'd never use again. Leah. I made a mistake. I should have come sooner. I'm on my way now. If you'll have me. The reply came before he reached the platform. I never stopped waiting, Dad. He looked at the drawing again. 2 figures, holding hands. And for the first time in years, Caleb walked forward not out of guilt or pain or duty, but with hope, all thanks to one little girl who just needed a father for a day.